In this video, I'll be giving you 6 LinkedIn profile hacks that you can use to double the number of call bookings that you're getting every week. By the way, this is part of a free mega course that goes extensively into everything that you'll need to know about growing your business and acquiring clients online, and how to do so scalably and repeatably. So if you want to see the entire course, then just click on the link below and you'll be able to see it for yourself. All right, so now you can see my LinkedIn profile, and we're going to be talking about a couple things that you can do to optimize it so that you can actually start booking calls. So the first and the most obvious thing is that I have professional headshots taken. You want to use this because if you don't have professional shots, it's going to look just unprofessional. I mean, I don't really know what other word I can use to describe it. So spend the $100 is really not that much money. And if you can come across as being more of an expert authority in your space, then it's going to ultimately pay off in the long run, and the first impressions really do matter. If you've been lucky enough that you've been able to perform on stage, present, speak, shows that you're in a position of authority, then use those pictures as well, because it makes you just seem more credible. The next thing that you're going to want to do is come up with your LinkedIn headline. And this is really important because it'll essentially tell your audience exactly what it is that you do and who you help. And you can actually see here, I directly call out my ideal buyer, and I even talk about the specific thing that I help them with. You don't want to just say, oh, I'm the CEO of so-and-so company and leave it at that, because that doesn't really actually tell people whether or not they would be a potentially interesting fit to work with you, right? So for example, if you sold fitness products to help mothers lose weight, then you would literally say that in your tagline. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do is set up this link here, which will allow you to drive your traffic to wherever it is that you want to go. So you can push this to a website, you can send this to your call booking page, and in my case, I actually send them to my YouTube channel where it shows them how they can build out systems that will ultimately generate them more leads and clients. And the reason why I do this instead of just sending them to a call booking page is because most of the people that will be heading to my LinkedIn profile probably have never met me before, and they don't necessarily trust me yet. Maybe that's because I sent them a cold message, or maybe they just found me randomly on LinkedIn. And if that's the case, they're not going to be ready to convert on my website or my call booking page yet. So instead, I want to build more trust. I want to give more value up front. And that's why I've spent all this time to create content, and getting them to binge down my content is going to make it way easier for them to ultimately book a call. And actually, on my YouTube, I have links for them to actually book a call. As well, in the video itself, I have a call to action that'll just speak out loud saying, hey, if you're following me on social media, just send me a DM. Let's have a bit of a conversation in the DMs, and that way we can talk about whether or not I would be a good fit for you. So if you actually want to set up this link, you're going to have to actually turn creator mode on, because by default, creator mode is not on. And without creator mode, you're not going to be able to do a couple different things, such as LinkedIn Lives or building a newsletter, but namely, you're not going to be able to set up this link. So turn it on and you'll be better off for it. Now, the next section that you're going to want to set up is the featured section. And this is going to have just primary content that you're going to have pinned to the top of your feed. So for me, I also have my YouTube videos here. I'm going to push them to the core YouTube video that I think is the most valuable. Now, below the featured section with all these pinned pieces of content, you actually have your overall activity. And consider this almost like your wall. This is just your recent content that you've created and shared. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is you can actually decide whether or not you want to be pinning videos or posts or comments. And for me, because I'm more of a video-centric person, that's why I've chosen videos to be the default format that I've pinned. But if you're more of a writer, then you could just have all of your written posts be pinned instead. As long as your written content is good, then by all means, go for it. Now, the next section here is the About section. Now, I will say, if you do not turn on creator mode, the About section actually will show up higher in the screen. However, when you do turn creator mode on, what it does is it actually makes your content the most important thing in your profile, and then it lowers the About section all the way down here. So the About section, what it really is essentially where you can explain what your business is all about, who you help, how you help. A lot of people misuse this because they just use it as like a way to talk about their life story, or they use it to talk about like essentially resume things, which I know for your dad probably is the correct way to use LinkedIn, but for us as entrepreneurs, as people trying to sell and move products, you want to be able to use this more as like a copywriter or like a landing page in a website. So I talk about who exactly I help, what their biggest problems are, and how I actually can serve them. And I even, once again, reference that they should go and check out my videos above if they want to see me solve these problems for them. So once again, really trying to make this as effective as possible from a sales perspective. Now, in terms of the experience section here, I would say this will depend on what your previous jobs were. If you've had a lot of jobs in the past which are directly relevant to the entrepreneurship venture that you're doing now, then having just your previous jobs and your accomplishments there is sufficient. For me, as an example, like my business, Attract and Scale, we help people with lead generation and content marketing and client acquisition. But the reality is, even before I started my company, I've already been in that world for like 8 years, right? Before my own business, I was the head of sales at Hired Hippo, which is a software business. And then before that, I was the sales director at an agency. And before that, I was literally just doing sales for a fast-growing startup. So for me, I didn't really need to change anything because my previous experiences already made me look more credible. And I'm sure for my first few clients who I found on LinkedIn, this was really valuable to have. Let's say what you're trying to do has very little to do with what your previous experiences were. And in that case, you can actually just use your actual customer testimonials as experiences. You can add a new position and then actually just feature previous clients and feature their client testimonials and their stories. And that actually would be sufficient to try to flesh out your expertise in whatever new venture you're trying to execute on. Now, all the way down to skills, I don't think really skills are that important. People rarely even get down to this part of the LinkedIn profile anyways, but I guess it's better to have than not. For me, I was very lucky because, once again, I've been in sales and marketing for like almost a decade now. So I had all these endorsements long before I started my company just because I had been working in the space. But if you don't have any of these endorsements yet, fear not. All you can do is pick the 3 to 5 that you actually think are the most important for your entrepreneurship venture. Maybe that's weight loss, maybe that's negotiations, whatever it is. And then just ask your friends, ask your family, ask your ex-girlfriend, ask your existing clients, ask your employees and your previous colleagues or whatever, and just get them to endorse you. It's not a big deal. It's actually relatively easy to do. And like I said, most of my endorsements didn't come from me needing to ask because they just thought I was actually an expert, and that's great. But for you, if you've never done this before, then just go and ask, and it's not that big of a deal. Recommendations, same thing. I've never actually gone out of my way to ask because I just don't think that people even really get down to this far in the LinkedIn profile. But if you want it, it's better to have it than to not have it. But for me, I do have some recommendations from previous colleagues that say how good I am at what I do. My recommendation for you actually is to get your clients and your customers to leave you recommendations and have them talk about how amazing your services were and the results that they got. I think that would actually be a really, really great way to get some recommendations that'll ultimately help you book more calls. So that's pretty much it for the most part in regards to how you can optimize your LinkedIn profile to book more meetings. But final thing that I'll say is you do not want to just rely on your LinkedIn content and your profile to book your calls. Because the reality is most people who find your LinkedIn profile are going to be too passive to actually click into your content or to send you a DM or to actually book a call at all. So instead, what you should do is if anyone ever follows you, so they send you a connection request, if you accept them, DM them immediately and just ask them like, hey, what's your story? Why did you actually reach out to me? And start asking some questions to figure out what their pains are, and maybe you can actually help them out. Maybe there's someone who likes your content and you can send them a call booking link, or if they're not ready for that, you can just send them content such as your YouTube channel and get them to start nurturing, right? Same thing, if anyone ever likes your content down here, comments on it, then DM them. Thank them for engaging with your content and just start having a conversation with them to see what it is that they're trying to overcome and solve. And hopefully from there, you have your entranceway into booking a call. And overall, that's actually how you can optimize LinkedIn. Don't be passive. Don't think that everyone is just going to find your content and book a call all on their own. Be proactive. DM people, have conversations, send them content in the private messages, and follow up so that they can ultimately schedule a meeting with you. So with that being said, LinkedIn, really, really powerful tool. I actually have other videos that I made in my channel, as well as other sections in my master course that talks about how you can set up automation campaigns and build lists using LinkedIn. So if you haven't already checked those out, I'm sure you can find them, and you will. It'll be really valuable to you. If you deploy what it is that I've talked about in this LinkedIn section, then I know you're going to absolutely crush your competition and you're going to start generating a ton of calls.